Well, happy 4th of July to everyone out there in YouTube land. If the video is, or if the live is a little glitchy, it seems like everybody's glitchy a little bit today. I don't know if it's because it's the 4th of July and everybody's on the internet. I don't know. But anyway, we apologize if, we're a little glitchy. We hope you'll we hope you'll share, and we hope you'll comment, get in on the chats. If you have a question, we'll try to get it on in a, in a reasonable amount of time. But I hope you're having a good 4th of July. I hope everything is well with you. And, celebrate the freedom and the independence and the liberty that we have, and be thankful to those that have paid the price. Well, we're going to bring on here our guest host, Rick.
Hi, Derry. How you doing?
You look good today, Rick.
Oh, I shaved my head this morning because I knew I was going to be on the show, so I had to make everything look good.
Okay. Well, you do look good. Yeah.
Got to do for it to look really good. You got to do it every other day. If you let it go, it doesn't look good.
What is that? One of those big dollar razors that you use, or what?
The next step up. It's still the cheap ones, but I buy the cheapy ones. But if you do it enough, or if you do it every other day, a razor will last you almost 2 weeks. So that's not bad.
No, that's true.
Cheapy stuff. Yeah.
I hope you don't ever cut yourself.
No,
okay,
just
good. You're done, right?
It's you think, oh, it's so easy. You don't have to go get a haircut, but it's not easy. Because you got to stay on top of it.
Well, you may know more about this stuff than I do. I picked this up at Joe Fest. I think it's Han.
Yeah, Han Solo.
I think it's Han, and I don't know if it came in a set. My son was trying to tell me that he thought it came with a tauntaun.
Yes, yeah, it did.
He said that he told me it didn't come individually, but I did find it individually. But I don't know if that is something that somebody else did or whatever. Yeah, and there's two things down here in the bottom. I don't really know what they are.
Yeah, that's the equipment he carried in Empire Strikes Back. One of them is like a binoculars.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure what the other one is, but that
but as far as you know, it only came with the tauntaun too.
Yep, and they had a Luke Skywalker with the tauntaun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so if you can find
if you can find the big tauntaun, it's a nice. It's huge, but it makes a nice display. Yeah.
I've seen it. My son has all that stuff, both loose and in the boxes. So I've seen it all. I guess when I looked at the two tauntauns, I did not just specifically pay attention to the fact that this was Han and this was Luke. I just looked at them, and you're right. Yeah. They're pretty big. They're pretty big.
Yeah, they're big. I bought one a long time ago. Yeah, I could.
Oh, and you probably got it.
I was finding those at the flea market for wicked cheap, like just last year and the year before. Yeah, I don't know why they were so cheap. Yeah, like I think my buddy got one. It was Todd Zingalis. I think he got one for like $10 in the box, but the box was all beat up. Yeah, it's cheap. But that's again, it's a huge piece to buy and put on the shelf. So
yeah, it takes up a lot of space. Sure does.
Yeah.
So how is your 4th going?
Was good. I managed to do a couple picks today, which I was happy with, and just kind of relaxed, did some laundry. Nice day. Yeah.
Do you live in a place where they have the big parades and the fireworks or anything like that?
They used to have fireworks. I don't think they're doing them this year, but someone, I'm kind of in the country and someone's always shooting off fireworks. So they'll be going on after 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Someone who lives on some lake, somebody will be blasting them. So,
Yeah.
but
Me and my family a few years ago
I
were
mean,
coming back from a. I was just saying that me and my family were coming back from an event a few years ago on July the 4th, and we were going through this little rinky-dink town, and it was unbelievable. They had a big parade, and they had all the streets blocked off, and they really did a big deal in their little town.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's not regular.
There's one town that's not too far from me that has, at midnight, they have the pots and pans parade. And everyone goes there and they bang on pots and pans and march through the streets. I mean, the town, you can throw a rock, from one end to the other type of deal. And everybody shows up, I guess. I never went to it because it's at midnight. I'm like, I don't want to be out here
Yeah,
at midnight.
You got 500 people out there. That's pretty much the whole town. Yeah. So what you got to share today?
Yeah. I got a couple of things. This is something I found I don't know if I found this at Goodwill or the flea market or what. Pretty cool. I think it's made by Imaginex, and you actually fill it with water, and it has a little thing here. You squeeze it, and it squeezes out water. But it goes good with
Okay.
deep sea diver stuff. It's like that. Did you ever hear of DC
Sure.
Direct? DC Direct, they do. They have their 1/6 scale guys. They're bigger than 1/6. These guys are like almost 12 inches tall, and that's Martian Manhunter. I don't know why I bought him. I never read the comic book or anything, but he's just a cool looking figure. All soft goods, neat muscular body.
Would that have been one of the characters that may have played in some of the Superman movies or Superman TV shows or something, where there was a Martian, a good Martian? Yeah,
I think he was involved with the Justice League, so Superman would have been involved with that. Yeah.
Okay.
And because it's 4th of July, I have Uncle Sam, of course. He's so, of course, I bought this off of eBay, and then I gave him a G.I. Joe body. He's got a nice head sculpt.
Right.
The outfit is fantastic. I gave him leggings. I made him kind of a World War II kind of thing.
It looks good.
So
looks good.
Yeah.
And that head sculpt looks good too.
It's a good head sculpt, but it's starting to get tacky. So like the plastic is starting to break down, I think.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
Okay.
But he's nice. He's a fun one. I posted him in your group there, the Toys Mind group.
Yeah, I saw that early.
Yeah, I had to do something for 4th of July. I wasn't gonna, but then I said, let's do something.
I know. Well, we're going to bring on our guest now, Derryl. Derryl Haddock. And why is it not moving?
Hey, fellas.
Hey, Derryl.
Hi, how are you? How are you? I think I got something to show that's gonna go good with the octopus.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, go jump on it.
So I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I got a lot of them. But so I got my first Joe probably at 4 or 5. And it was obviously the painted head military ones. And so I went all the way up through those, got to the adventure team. And so by the time I was 12, I got a Seawolf for Christmas, right? And my family, my mother and father are both from Atlantic City, New Jersey. And so I thought it would be great to take my Seawolf out to the beach. And I was holding on to it really with just the little holes that you connected to the bladder, right? Really nothing else was holding it. And I was watching it, kind of a few feet because those hoses were relatively short. And this kid comes flying between me and my Seawolf, right? And he pulls the holes out of the Seawolf, out of the little thing, and I'm screaming, right? I'm screaming and hollering like, ah! And so my mother and my little sister, they were sitting by the lifeguard station. And so the lifeguard jumps down off the station and thinks maybe, another kid is drowning.
Right.
So they run and try to jump into the Atlantic Ocean and try to find it. And basically, I've got to kind of swallow my pride and say, no, that was my toy. It flew away. It floated away. So, I had to get another Seawolf. I got a Seawolf. The box is pretty beat up. But it was one of those things one of the first things I really had to replace. Most of my toys, unfortunately, didn't really survive into high school. But I had a really good friend in middle school who had action figures. And so we pretty much had everything. G.I. Joe, Big Jim, Major Matt Mason between us. And so, I had a ton of stuff. And unfortunately, getting older, moving around, whatever, it just didn't survive. So my collection is probably much larger than I needed to be. But I really wanted to replace a lot of these figures with stuff that I had as a kid. And of course, there was new stuff that came out. So, I got some cool, relatively new figures, kind of part of the collection. So I got a Jack Bauer, right?
Okay.
The TV series 24, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how much I paid for him, but I had to have him because I used to love that show. But but I got a Jack Bauer, and he's pretty well articulated. He came with this, cool suit and jacket, cell phone, gun. And so I keep him around just to kind of watch my back. Because he's good at that. And I bought a couple of figures that I created kind of a new adventure team with. So this guy is kind of my new adventure team. And I kind of like him. I think he's the head sculptor from a basketball player. But
well, it worked.
Yeah, he looks familiar.
He does. But I went ahead, he's not Jordan or any of those guys. So I figured nobody would know who he was. The fact that he's got braids and he's pretty contemporary. And I got him outfitted with a knife and some stuff. So he's pretty cool. And like I said, I got mostly vintage stuff kind of behind me. So, I've got an Action Man plane up there that I bought. I've got the helicopter that you use to catch the intruders with up top on the top shelf. I've got
Action Man? Is the plane, Derryl, is that plane the one where the guy lays down in it?
No, I actually have an Action Man submarine where the guy lays down in it, and it's got like a bubble. It's kind of a contemporary sub, but he lays down in that. This one is the old kind of AT jet that you could kind of turn the wings up and down, so it could do like a vertical takeoff and landing. So I
don't know if I ever saw that one.
Yeah. The Pursuit Craft, I think it was called.
Oh, there goes the wings.
Oh, this is the Pursuit Craft. Okay, called the Pursuit Craft.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you heard, the wings usually have those little knobs that have broken off, so they don't really stay on there too well.
Right.
But yeah, I have one of these. I've got parts for the Venture Team one. I've got a Action Man Skyhawk that I refused to pull it out and play with it because they were so fragile that I figured they would never survive. It would never survive, especially a flight. But
right.
You know, I've been really hanging out with the Atlanta Joe Club probably since about 97 or 98. I remember I saw a post. I had AOL way back then, and I think I put in a search for, you know, G.I. Joes or something like that. And this thing about a G.I. Joe Club came up. And so I reached out, and Buddy reached back to me, and they had their meetings way up on Georgia 85 at this place called a War Room. And I think I had a raggedy car back then, so I didn't make the first couple of meetings because I didn't think my car was going to make it up there. But eventually I got a decent car that could make the trip, and I got the chance to hang out, meet Buddy face to face, meet EJ, you know, and I think the first Joe Lana that wanted, if it wasn't the first, it was the second one, but they had it way up Georgia 85 or Highway 85, Interstate 85, and it was in this little, I guess, convention hall or something like that, and that was the first time I met a bunch of the guys, and I actually got to meet Carlos. And so we've all been hanging with the club, you know, since the late 90s for decades, you know, and it's been really an amazing ride. You know, the fellas are great. You know, back then there was a guy named Lanny Latham that was part of the crew that actually left Atlanta to go work, you know, out in Texas with the major show that they had, the national show. And so, yeah, just still been hanging tight, doing this work, you know, loving the company, enjoying the camaraderie that the club has. And the cool thing is that it's not just local, it's national. You know, now, you know, there's people that you see, you know, parties, conventions that you only see at the convention, and they come from all over the states. And so, you know, I think I heard somewhere that, you know, Toy Lana and Joe Lana were like some of the biggest toy conventions on the East Coast. But a lot of folks drive, you know, down here and participate in it. And I've loved it ever since. You know, never wanted to look back.
The first time that I met Alan, I was going to say the first time I met Alan Dawson, you know, I knew immediately that he wasn't from Atlanta. And he said he flew in, you know, he flew in from Great Britain. And I said, wow, that's wild. But yeah, now we have friends all over.
All over. And I think he might have been who I got some of this Action Man stuff from, because he used to bring stuff, you know, and because I didn't have any, you know, anything that was overseas, I think I picked up, you know, a couple of different Action Man stuff. As a matter of fact, up top is a stealth bomber that is one of the new Action Man. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
But he was able to kind of.
That's what I was meaning, Derryl. The pilot lays down in that.
Yeah, he does. He does. It's got you know, the Action Man has like a little buggy that's inside of him.
Yeah,
but
it's inside there.
Yeah. But when the first time I saw it, I love that vehicle. Unfortunately, I got way too many big stuff that my wife would kind of look at me kind of cross-eyed. But
yeah,
you know,
I think we all got that.
Oh yeah. I love the vehicles though, but they're just too big to display, you know. Yeah. So, and I got way too many of them, you know. Yeah, way too many. But I've been collecting for a while and really enjoying the camaraderie. And I've only been to a few national shows, But even when I got a chance to check them out, being able to meet like this huge, peer group of guys our age that have been, playing with, loving these toys, pretty much our whole lives, and it's kind of funny that, here we are adults, some of us are kind of getting up there, and we're still playing with stuff, we're still dressing them, we're creating adventures for them and taking pictures. It really blows my mind that I actually have a hobby like this, and I love the fact that it's really diverse. I love the fact that this group, and maybe especially in Atlanta, you don't really get to be outside of your racial group often, because Atlanta is so cliquish in terms of this is one side of town, this is another side of town. It's changing a lot, but it really offered a fresh new opportunity to just have friends of all kinds, and it was one of my few, social things that I had where it was open to everybody. And I think I love that as well, because even faith communities, even, you go to a church and it's one of the most segregated kind of hours in the country sometimes. But I love the fact that you can kind of mix, mingle, talk, have nostalgia, remember wins, and it's really a great time. So I really appreciate it. But thanks for checking it out.
Well, Derryl, I had I was a chaplain for a while in prison, and I had a guy come out of prison that moved to Atlanta, and he went to a church for a little while. And I don't mean to get off on that topic, but I thought that since you brought it up, it was very interesting that he actually told me that he spent 1.5 years looking for a church that did not have either Spanish or white or black. It was just a church where people came from all over. He said it took him 1.5 years to find it. But he wanted his children to be exposed to all kinds of people rather than to just one grouping. And I thought that was, really an exciting step that he took in his life.
I mean, you definitely, we talk about it in America. We say that we're too busy to hate, and but there's just still some stuff around the edges, unfortunately. That you have to do that. You have to try to combat it. You have to try to find ways to connect with other people, and sometimes different people, oftentimes different people. And like I said, I think one of the fantastic things about the club is it really afforded me an opportunity to hang out, to talk about stuff that I love, enjoy the company of people that don't always look like me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But you don't have to be hung up by that stuff, I mean, and I don't want to throw it back to G.I. Joe, but the cool thing was with action figures, you could have all different kinds, right? And so you didn't just have to have the black guy, right, or the white guy. Most of us wanted the whole team, right? And we were cool with having, an assortment of figures, bearded ones, clean shaven ones,
Germans, Chinese, none of that mattered.
None of that mattered, right? And so, when you have that as kind of your kind of early foray into toys and playing, I think it gives us a different perspective than some. They're always kind of talking about, well, what dolls should you play with? What things should you play with? Especially with girls' toys. They're always talking about, do you give your kid one kind of doll versus the other? But that was never, what we had in terms of action figures, in my opinion. There was never this stigma about, you can't have this one, you can't have that one. You just wanted all of them. Even the Martin figure.
When you go back to when you were playing as a kid in your neighborhood, how many Joes would you actually see in your neighborhood?
There was only 3 friends that I had that had Joes.
Okay.
I had a kid that was across the street from me until they moved. And
Okay.
then my best friend, he was about 3 years younger than me, but he had every action figure. His folks bought him everything from Action Jackson. I mean, he had everything. And so he was probably my longest running friend with action figures. And then I had a cousin who had action figures back down in Atlantic City. And so I had about 3 different guys that I could, play action figures with, and kind of live out stuff. We would live out, Kelly's Heroes. We would live out, all of the crazy movies where Eagles Dare, whatever was coming out. We were playing that stuff, with the action figures, and so Kelly's Heroes, The Great Escape. That was just the stuff that you watch, on, kind of BTV, if you will, the stuff that came on all day long. And, that was the fodder for the imagination that kind of kept you going. And so, we did a lot of that. I remember, having paratroopers as Joes and throwing them up in the air and they're getting stuck in the tree. I mean, unfortunately, my Joes, they had a rough life. It was a tough assignment.
That's
your
what
your Joes are probably in somebody's yard somewhere right now. Wasting away, right?
When I lost the sea wolf, my mom told me it was probably in England. She said it's probably floated across the Atlantic, and it's probably sitting up on some shore in England, right about now. So my grandmother made her go out and get me another Joe, because I had a figure in the sea wolf. I never got another sea wolf again.
Oh, but it would be interesting to see what really happened to that.
I know. It's doubtful that it floated all the way, right? It was light, but they fill with water pretty quickly. So I'm sure it didn't make it that far off the Atlantic coast. But it was always in my imagination that Joe sailed that bad boy all the way across the Atlantic.
It's fun.
But a few years ago, there was a guy that fired Joe into subspace. And, they lost him. They can't find him. The capsule blew up, and it just, the camera showed him, just flying apart, but they never were able to find him. They still don't know where that guy is.
Well, he's probably up there with all that space junk they were talking about. Maybe. He's probably up there. Well, I know, I shared about, these toys, and I shared a little bit about, meeting up with the club folks. I guess the one thing I definitely wanted to show you was, how I kind of got into the photo comics. And so, seeing Sean Huxley, he used to do lots of photo comics back in the 90s. Dan DiBiase was another one. There was a lot of content that was online kind of right toward the end of the 90s that really got me thinking. Because I another thing you can't see is I got tons of comics. I got crates of comic books, right, that I've had since the 70s. And so that's another reason that my wife probably looks at me kind of funny, because I bought them in from out of the garage. They were out there, but they wasn't handling well with the weather. So they're all over here in the corner. And but I wanted to do something where instead of drawing comics, which I'm not bad, but I'm not great in terms of sketching them out. It just seemed to be faster to kind of whip them out, by taking photos. And so I've been kind of doing the photo comics for a while now, and really enjoyed it. And I try to do maybe 2 or 3 a year. Probably I know I've done several that I posted in different sites. I need to try to figure out how to get them on the site that we created for our business, because it doesn't make sense to keep sharing them with everybody else and you don't drive them back to your own site. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun, a lot of imagination, a lot of great ideas. I usually get ideas, at night while I'm trying to fall asleep, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, okay, I can do that. Or I see something that really makes me want to kind of take some shots. Like at the last swap, I think Brian Tatum had one of those Predator figures. They weren't really great articulation, but I was like, yeah, I could do a 6-inch, 1/6 scale Predator adventure, with my Joes. And so did that. So yeah, just some really great ideas have kind of cooked up in my head for the last few years. And so I got a few of them.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this one was one that I shot kind of in my backyard, and I was able to incorporate it with some background photos. So the shots of the spaceships are actually stock photos, but
Okay.
I was able to kind of pull them into, and I see it, I got a glare, but was able to kind of take some content, and this was another one I did kind of in a creek where.
Do you know where you have them posted now, Derryl?
I have to go back and look. I mean, I've kind of posted them in like one of the adventure team sites.
Okay.
So, and then I'm starting to actually put them on our site called Remember When.
Okay.
Carlos, EJ, and I, we started a kind of vintage, I guess it's vintage retail, but it's games, records. If anybody's familiar with the stuff that Carlos usually brings to the conventions, he's got a pretty eclectic eye. And so it's not just 12-inch figures. I think EJ and I are pretty much the 12-inch guys. But Carlos,
I just saw Carlos at Joe Fest. I saw Carlos at Joe Fest the other day.
So he's got a really eclectic eye. So it really makes for a good partnership to have the three of us and the kind of taste that we all have, and we kind of put them together. And so we started the business as an official business back in 2021 during the pandemic, because we were just sitting around wondering what we were going to do with ourselves. And then because there isn't really a comic book collectible shop in Metro Atlanta anymore. Well, we have comic shops in Metro Atlanta, but there are no comic shops in the city of Atlanta.
Okay.
And so all of the collectibles and most of the new toy shows are north of the city. Most of the toy vintage stores, retail operations are actually north of the city, kind of up near Gainesville and Duluth. And so there's nothing really on the south side. And so, I was thinking, well, maybe I could figure out how to have a turnkey or something like that was on the south side. But having a business is tough, and you got to create a market and all of that. So I started to follow you all who are selling stuff online, and it cuts the overhead down and all of that. So, that's what we're doing now, is doing a lot of our sales either, on Facebook or on eBay. And then EJ was able to get us a booth at a place called, Unique Treasures, which is like a flea market, similar to what Martin does. He's got a booth. And so we're kind of following the footsteps of folks that, have already kind of figured out what's the best way to do this. But, as you, I'm sure, know, sometimes the sales are slow, and oftentimes the stuff that's for sale is usually a lot of, old stuff that's in much more pristine shape than possibly some of the stuff that we have that's more played with. And so, it may be tough to get, some decent prices for some of the stuff that we sell. But for some people that are not, picky and don't care about the stuff kind of missing a few pieces, or they know that they can get pieces and kind of kit bash it together. It's been a good run. We've had a lot of fun with it.
And how is your little shop doing? Is it doing good?
It's doing well. It's doing well. I think we've been at Antique Treasures now for several months, and so we're turning a pretty decent. I mean, it's breaking even. It's breaking even, so it covers the booth rent, and several times we've actually been able to kind of get a little more so that we can actually stick something in the bank.
Right.
But yeah, the sales are good and they're consistent, and so hopefully, God willing, I'll say, I think we'll be able to at some point expand. Maybe at some point if it's around retirement time or something like that. But being able to keep it with really low overhead probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Having a turnkey that you got to pay a lease or something for is you can't be sure that you can move that much product.
Right. My son had a store in Macon, and he drove over there every day for an entire year. And when he calculated it, he had given all of the profit to the people that own the property, and to the utilities, and to the upkeep, and to the gas. And so he said, I'm doing this to pay other people. I'm not making any money to do this. So he went back to doing what you're talking about doing, and selling on Facebook and eBay and different websites and things. And he does very well. Just a few months ago, he needed a little bit of money for some repairs on his house, and he listed 4 things, and he made the entire amount of money for the repairs just with those 4 things that he sold through the internet. So yeah, I think that's a much better way to do it now. I think it works better in our society right now.
And they laugh at us old heads because we're on Facebook, but that's really who is really utilizing Facebook as a platform. So
Yes.
even having a website, didn't really drive a lot of customers.
People don't
to
go
the
to websites no more. They don't go to websites no more. They say they do, but they don't. They don't really. No.
So and website hosting and all of that is a cost. So I think if we want to stay lean and mean, because there's 3 of us, right? So we have to be able. So between the shows and between the one booth and the fact that Carlos is not in the Atlanta area, so when he does come up, he brings a lot of product, because he's down in Alabama, and so we have stuff that we can just put in inventory, and we always have stuff to trade out, between the 3 of us. So it's
how's EJ doing?
He's doing well. He's feeling a little bit better in terms of health. I mean, he's kind of like the oldest of the 3, and so I think we want to make sure that there's some resources that are available to him. He was able, after he went through a little bit of hard luck to kind of bounce back up, and kind of have a place. And he and his wife are doing well, and he's hanging in there. I know he was really excited about participating in the shows and having EJ's lobby swap and stuff like that. But I think there's been so many changes to the show, that I think, we just have to pretty much find a way back to maybe some of those original program ideas, that were a part of the show.
Does EJ come to the show in Conyers anymore?
Yeah, he was actually there. I think this year I wasn't there, but I was there in 2022.
Okay.
And so all three of us were at the Kanye show, and I think they went this year, and then I think they were in Augusta at the Augusta show. Both
yes,
of them.
I saw both of them in Augusta. They looked like they were doing good.
Yeah, and you know EJ. EJ is a character. You know,
Yeah.
he's larger than life. You
Yeah.
know, he's one of those people that have, you know, the big personality. And so he's really exciting to kind of be around and to connect with. And
Yeah, I love EJ. I love EJ.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. This is a quick story. I think the first time I really remembered you was when you had a Sunday service at one of the Joe Lanna's that was at the Marriott.
Yeah.
And because I would have to come up, because my church is actually in the South Side near, you know, in Southwest Atlanta, I used to always have to take off and couldn't go to my service. And so that was one of the coolest things to have been able to do, was actually to go to a Sunday service, you know, as part of the programming of the show. And I thought that, you know, it was excellent. I mean, I know everybody, you know, doesn't worship in the same way, but to just have the offering was really cool. And I definitely remembered, you know, that you were.
Well, I had been a chaplain for many years, and I don't like to use this word, but it is a word that everybody knows. So I always had a generic service at Joe Lanta, and you know that way it doesn't make anyone feel out of place or uncomfortable. It's just a generic service. And I had to do that for years in prison. So I know how to. I think the hardest thing I ever had to do in prison was when I had to minister to a Satanist. I had never done that before. And I'm really not even sure I helped that person at all anyway, because you know, how do you deal with a Satanist? And I don't know. Maybe I'll get some comments about that. I don't mean no disrespect, but you know, when you're a Christian and you're trying to, you know, whatever, Satanist is just kind of out there. But anyway, I think we got our brother Rick laughing a little bit there.
We've kind of gone around the mulberry bush, I think, with some of the topics.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. You know, the thing about Joe Atlanta that I enjoyed, like you were saying, is very similar. But I enjoyed the fact that none of us were concerned about what anybody voted for. We weren't concerned about that. We weren't concerned about whether you were from the north or the south or the east or the west. We weren't concerned about that. We weren't concerned about your politics. We weren't concerned about your religion. The only thing we were concerned about was G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And that's what really made that camaraderie, you know, because if you know who Jack Hall is, you know, Jack Hall is probably the most different guy that you'll ever meet. But they actually got Jack Hall to come to one of my devotions, and I felt honored, you know, to have Jack Hall there. But yes, he did come, and I kind of missed that. But you see, Joe Atlanta has changed so much, and life has changed so much. Because I used to go the whole weekend. You know, I'd go and stay in the hotel, and so then you could go to everything. But now it's just so much in life, and things have changed that I can't go that much anymore. I'm lucky if I get to the show for a couple of hours now. But at Joe Fest, the fun thing was being able to reconnect with a lot of the guys that, you know, we've seen over the years, be able to catch up with some people. I'm thankful for Facebook because we get to do that too there. I get to catch up with people that I haven't seen in a long time on Facebook too. And if I just sent a message to one of my friends in England, now it took him a few days to get back to me because, the time is different and he's got other things going on, but it still is wonderful to know that you have a Joe friend all the way in England. That's just cool. It's just cool. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really found exciting the last several years was how they incorporated a lot of the kind of makers and the creative folks that were actually starting to produce, several years ago, probably more like 5 to 8 years ago. But to start incorporating, a lot of stuff that people were doing with 3D printing, and they would always, have, folks that were seamstresses and folks that could make costumes and uniforms, but just to take it up a notch and watch the stuff, and then invite Coswall and others to actually come that actually produce stuff and sell stuff, has really, I think, taken the show to another level as well, right? It really, it's great to have all of us little kind of kitchen table mom and pop vendors. Like, that's fun and that's fine. But, to kind of be sitting there and you got folks like that are artists, you got like Hammer, and other folks that are like, wow, look at these guys, look what they're doing. That was like very rarely in your social circle do you find access to stuff like that. At least I did,
No.
That's what really made the connection a lot of fun. People could spend the weekend, like I said, I can't do the weekend pretty much like you can. There's a lot going on, but I definitely enjoyed the years that you could go for 2 or 3 days and hang out, and then the deals actually happened on that Sunday because people didn't want to take that stuff back home. So, you could walk away with stuff that they didn't want to pack up, for a song.
Well, I don't even know who this guy was, but he evidently saw me on Facebook and knew that I was going to be at Joe Atlanta. So he sent me a message. He said, Terry, you going to be at Joe Atlanta? And I said, yeah. He said, what time will you be there? And I told him what time I'd be there. He said, I have something for you. I said, okay. So I'm standing in line waiting to get into the show. And he walks up to me and hands me one of them M1 tanks. Just hands it to me. And he says, here you go, Terry. I said, see you later. I said, what's up? Said, I don't have any place to put it. And I knew you had a couple. So here's another one. Okay, thank you. And I took it in the show and sold it within an hour and a half. And, I got it free and I sold it in an hour and a half.
That's so cool. Where can that happen, right? Where does that happen?
It can't happen. No, it can't happen unless you got some good Joes, man. You got some good Joes. And I've had a lot of situations where somebody would post something, that they were looking for. And if I had an extra one, I'd just pack it up and send it to them. Didn't charge them nothing. Just trying to be a good Joe. And that's what, I think that's what makes this hobby wonderful. I think it's what makes it wonderful.
I remember, if it wasn't Buddy, like somebody in the club would always just bless you, right? Just hand you something and you're like, huh? So like I can't even count how many figures people have just shared with me. And one of the things that I remember watching Carlos do a lot is, especially for the kids, if the kids come into the show and they're looking at a figure, Carlos is quick to just say, this is how we keep the collectors, collecting alive, right? And he would just give the kid a figure. And, it's that spirit, I guess, that we definitely want to pass on. Because I know we've all been beneficiaries of it.
Yes. Well, I think we're time for the questions now.
All right.
The questions. Right. Oh, I get to say something.
Hey, Rick.
Let me just say this. I have, I've never been part of the big shows because I'm up here in, New Hampshire. And So I don't have that camaraderie. But what did happen with Facebook was learning how to photograph stuff and being able to connect with people and learn. And that changed my whole hobby and the photography that I do. And, that's I hate to say it, but that's my social scene is Facebook and my photography, because I don't have any other friends. And
Right.
nobody I know does what I do. Nobody collects, nobody takes photographs like I do in my area, So Facebook has definitely helped me with, the stuff I have and connecting with, of seeing what's out there and what other guys are doing as far as customizing goes. And, making those connections like with Angelo D'Annabelle and him being able to do stuff for me. And, it's good. Anyways. All right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the fact that he's printing his own books now is crazy. I mean, the photo story thing is blown up in my opinion. There's so many different ways that people have put content out there, from making short movies to, photos that, action shots, singles photos to whole comic books. I mean, I really think that the next wave, is really going to be, this action figure toy content that kind of, replaces the silly movies that we watch on, on streaming services or something,
I can only hope.
I hope.
I'm going to have a guest on. I'm going to have a guest on in the future, and his group, they have a little club in their area, but what they're doing is they are writing a brand new adventure for the adventure team. And they've upgraded them a little bit so they don't look exactly like Hasbro's, but they're still having that adventure theme to them. And so I saw him at Joe Fest, and the comic, he had a mock-up of the comic, and it was real interesting. I think it could be one of the things that does what you're saying, sparks that new awareness and that new interest.
Yeah, maybe gets the younger people and catches their eye.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Derryl. Well, Terry said I can ask the questions now. So you ready? Do you know how this works?
I'm ready. Fire away.
So you know that once you answer these questions that have been calibrated and numerically numbered to let everyone who watches this video know all the deepest, darkest secrets that you have. So everyone will know you inside and out once you answer these questions.
Cool.
You ready?
Cool. Yeah.
You willing to go with it? Okay. In your opinion, Derryl, what's the best sandwich?
Ooh. I'm from Jersey, and so Jersey Shore sub sandwiches. There's a sub spot in Atlantic City where my folks are from called White House Subs. That has the best sandwiches this side of heaven. But the closest I can get to it down south is Jersey Mike's. So, I can kind of deal with Subway and Blimpies and all of that. But, if I want a real Jersey sandwich, I'll do Jersey Mike's. And then, of course, it's the Philly, right? So, getting a chicken Philly or, Philly cheesesteak is probably my second go-to if I'm not going to get ham, prosciutto, all of that stuff that's on an Italian sub.
Yeah, a nice Italian. All right. I've heard of Jersey Mike's. I've never had a sandwich there. We don't have them around here. I make my own Italian sandwiches.
All right.
Okay. This one, I think I know what the answer to this is going to be. Cats or dogs?
We have dogs around. Like I even have a dog. So dogs are probably the preference. But I've had cats around. Like we got a cat that just hangs out in the backyard. I had one that used to just have kittens in the backyard. So I think they're feral and they just show up. But dogs are probably the preference.
All right. What's your favorite action movie?
Oh man, that's a hard one. It's either gonna be the first Die Hard.
That's a popular one.
Yeah, the first Die Hard, or if I gotta kind of go back, it's got to be, maybe Sinbad, something like that. Jason the Argonaut, one of those with the claymation monsters.
Those are good ones.
Definitely one of those.
Yeah. In your opinion, Derryl, what's the scariest animal?
The scariest animal. Well, that's good. My gut would say sharks, right? But I did a program. I do environmental work, and I did a program where I would actually take young adults to actually snorkel with sharks. And so I did that, before I got sick for about 2 years. And we would go down to Florida and just, swim around, and they would chum up the water and let these nurse sharks kind of come around. And so now that I've been through that experience, I'm not definitely afraid of sharks, despite what you hear in the news. But I think, most of my life, sharks would have probably been maybe after Jaws in the 70s, right?
That movie kept me from swimming for the rest of my life. Superman or Batman?
That's a hard one. I was more Marvel, but my best friend was definitely DC. And so I would have to say, for my preference, it'd probably be Batman. My preference.
What's your favorite smell?
Ginger. I really love ginger. I can't.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, ginger.
All right. Now we're at the halfway point of these questions, so this question is one that will really kind of put you over the top here. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Yes, I do. I'm definitely a cryptid guy. I believe in Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, all of it. And so I'm that guy. I'm that guy.
Get the thumbs up from me. All right. Who's your favorite movie star, male or female?
Favorite movie star,
past or present?
That's a good one. I guess I'm definitely a Harrison Ford kind of go bonkers. Especially Indiana Jones was like one of my favorite movie runs. So Harrison Ford really couldn't do much wrong, in my opinion.
Did you like the last movie that came out?
It was okay. I was glad to see it because it wrapped up a lot of stuff. Because after the one with Mutt, they had all of these rumors about what the last one was going to be and how he was going to, Shia LaBeouf was going to be in it. But anyway, so this one, even though it didn't follow the continuity, I thought it still wrapped up a bunch of kind of loose arcs. So it was.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. What's one thing you own that you should throw away?
A lot of the stuff that's in this basement. I have a geo tracker. I have a 91 geo tracker that I bought because I wanted to be able to take the roof off. That has been sitting in my driveway since the pandemic because of the transmission. Something's with it. And so I need to throw that car away because it's just sitting there. And I'm not going to be able to sell it. I'm not going to make any money on it. And so out
of all our guests, no one has ever said, I want to throw away a car.
Yeah, I got to get rid of this car before it rots in my driveway,
All right.
Hey, Derryl, do they have the places up there where they'll buy? Do they have the places up where you're at that they'll buy your car and come and get it and take it away and give you about $400 for it?
I'm figuring because it's a 91 and it's not in great shape. I'm probably going to get $100 for it or something like that. Like the record trucks come and they'll take it away. So I mean, I was thinking about parting it out because we do have Suzuki and Geo Tracker clubs. There's a bunch of them on Facebook. And
Yeah.
so I think what I may do is just say, hey, come get it for parts. Maybe I could at least get 3 to 5 for it. But
yeah, do that.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. But the thing I need to move fast is this car that's sitting in my driveway.
All right. So we're down to the last question. Our viewing audience is chomping at the bit to hear the answer to this one. Have you ever seen a UFO?
I thought I had. When I was in Atlantic City, hanging out with my grandfather, I saw they used to have these planes, and they would advertise stuff, and the lights would go around the wings, and you could see it, and it would fly. And so one day I'm outside with my grandfather, and I see this flying thing with white lights going around in a circle. And I swore that was a UFO. Now, later on, my grandfather told me, no, that's just a plane, advertising, suntan lotion or something like that. But you could not have told me that thing wasn't a UFO, So I think I've seen a UFO. But of course, contrary to popular belief.
All right. There you have it. There you have it. Thank you, Derryl. You've put yourself out there for everyone.
Thank you so much, Derryl.
Hopefully nothing will come back up and bite me. Maybe the sandwich was, right?
I don't know. Or maybe a shark. That'd be it.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Derryl. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Make sure you tell Carlos and EJ that I said hello and Rick said hello. And if you're watching, please like, share, and comment. That helps us to kind of get the word out there. And I just had somebody send me a message a second ago and said, where are y'all? So apparently some people don't even know where we are. And make sure you subscribe. Hopefully hit the bell, and they'll let you know when we go live. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us. You got something you want to say, Rick, before we go?
No, that was a good show. Thank you, Derryl.
No problem. You take care of yourself up there, and hopefully y'all enjoy the rest of the 4th. Go see some fireworks or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a bowl of ice cream and go to bed.
There you go. There you go.
That's a plan. All right, gentlemen.
All right. Like, share, comment, and remember always, toys are fun.